Hello, here's a quick introduction to AgNote's farm management software. In this presentation, we will briefly cover for whom AgNote is designed for, what is AgNote's main focus, how is AgNote different from other farm management softwares, what are the key features of AgNote, and AgNote's heading. To answer the first question, for whom is AgNote designed for, the answer is AgNote is for that guy, right there in that pickup truck, that farmer or farm manager who quickly needs to look up how many days it's been since last harvest. Was there any fertilizer applied earlier, or do I need to schedule it? How much was the last harvest yielding? In short, AgNote is for busy farmers or farm managers who needs to manage farm fields, not spreadsheets. So what is AgNote's main focus? I would say any software, application, or tool has one main focus, or the core focus. In AgNote, that is, the planting. AgNote helps farmers to maintain planting details from the very beginning, starting from the seed. When it was planted, how much seed was used, what inputs were applied, how much irrigation water was applied, when was it harvested, what harvest method was used, and how much did it yield it. In AgNote, everything starts with planting, which is the main focus. Next, let's look at how is AgNote different from the other farm management tools. In my opinion, one of the biggest key differences that separate AgNote from the other farm management tools is that AgNote allows you to manage row crops and permanent crops separately. If you have been managing row crop and permanent crop information for some time, you'll probably agree that it would be really difficult to put all that information in one place or on one spreadsheet. Because, for example, row crop information may change every year, sometimes twice, maybe even 3 times a year, where for permanent crops it will stay the same for many years. But permanent crops may require to save different kind of information like rootstocks, plant spacing, row spacing. Some permanent crops may have different varieties planted in the same field. That would be another difference that would need to be recorded. AgNote makes it really easy to manage these two different planting types. AgNote also provides a dedicated view to manage multiple annual harvests in one place. I will have some screenshots later to better explain what I mean with annual harvests. And lastly, I do want to mention the previous, current, and next planting concept, which AgNote provides to help you better manage your plantings. All that is better explained with some examples, so let's look at some screenshots. Here's a screenshot of row crops management area in AgNote. First, I would like to elaborate a little bit more on how we arrived at this area layout. A few years back, when I was working as a farm manager managing about 6,000 acres, mostly row crops in California, our fields were mostly double cropped. That means each field was planted twice and it was harvested twice every year. One of the challenges that I had as a farm manager was the planting visibility and ability to plant the next one. The reality was that about in the middle of the current planting, I needed to start to plan my next plantings. I needed to know what varieties I'm going to plant, how much seed will I need. I will need to know what amendments will I be applying. At AgNote, we experimented with different layouts to see what would be the most helpful for the actual farm manager. That's where this previous, current, and next layout proved itself to be the most practical. In this row crops management view, I have a visibility to all my fields. I can see what's planted currently, what was planted in the field earlier, and I can start to fill in information about what will be planted next. Also, if we look at each planting individually, it gives us almost like a little dashboard. We can see the planting date, the harvest date, crop, variety, the last input, if there are any files attached, irrigation applied. To add the next planting, we can do that individually for each field, or in AgNote there's a batch tool. We can use the batch tool and add the next planting for many fields just in a few seconds. That's in case if the next planting has the same variety and the same crop. And once our current planting has been harvested and we got the yields inputted, you can simply move the next plantings information into the current planting spot. And also in AgNote there is a batch tool which allows us to do that just in a few seconds. Also notice that less than symbol in previous column heading. If we click on that, that allows us to navigate even further back to see planting information. And if you want to see all the plantings for the field, you simply click on this All Plantings link, and that will open a new window listing all the plantings that have been saved in AgNote for that field. Earlier I mentioned Annual Harvest View. In AgNote, Annual Harvest View allows us to manage multiple harvests in a calendar year for the planting. For example, on the screen I have multiple properties or fields which have alfalfa planted. And the alfalfa is harvested up to 10 times a year. What this view allows us to do is view each harvest. So we can see the yield per harvest, we can see how much water was applied, we can see the cost for the inputs for each harvest, we can see how many days there passed since the last harvest or how many days there are between the harvests. In the same view we can see the year-to-date statistics for each planting. And if the planting has been planted in a field for many years, we can navigate back and see what harvest this planting has in the years before. Here we have a screenshot of permanent crops management view in AgNote. And similarly to row crops view, here we also have the current, the previous, and next. But in this case, for the permanent crops, it is season, not planting. Here we have a good visibility to all our plantings and each season. And similarly to row crops, we can also navigate back and see how the other seasons looked or how do they compare to the current. And also similarly to row crop, we can plant inputs for the next season. In this case, the 2021 is current and 2022 is the next season. Next, let's look at some other key features which AgNote provides. We already covered row crop plantings view, the annual harvest view, and permanent crops view. AgNote also provides multiple dashboards. One of them is going to be Accounts Main Dashboard, the one on the screen. We'll see this dashboard every time we log into the AgNote's account. If we manage row crops, there will be a dedicated dashboard for just row crops. And similarly, if we also manage permanent crops, there will be a dedicated dashboard for that. And if we look over to the right, we will see this Chart Slide Out tab. If we simply hover over, we'll see all the charts listed there for the dashboard. And on this tab, user can customize how he or she prefers to view the dashboard. We can turn on and off the charts, what we want to see and which we want to hide. We can also change the order in which charts will appear just by dragging the chart title up or down. AgNote also provides many predefined reports throughout the application. And every time you see Report Slide Out tab on the right side of the screen, you can simply hover over it and you'll see available reports for that page. You can simply download the report by clicking on the link. You can also email the report. Just simply click on that envelope icon to the right. And this will allow you to email to one or many recipients. Another feature that AgNote provides is report scheduling. From out of all those reports that are provided in AgNote, you can schedule them. You can schedule them to be emailed to one or many recipients. You can choose what company information to include in the report. You can select how often you want the email to be sent. And you can also select the time when the email should be emailed out. AgNote gives you a granular control over how you record your yields. In AgNote, you can create your own custom harvest methods. You can specify what information needs to be recorded. You can specify what are the units in which you're recording that information, in what units you want to display that information on the page. And if your harvest method needs to be adjusted to certain moisture percentage, you can input the target moisture percentage here and AgNote will do the calculation. Here we see a snapshot of crops and varieties management area in AgNote. Initially, when we add the fields to our account and we create our current planting, all that crop and variety information will be saved here, and we can always come back and update the information if we need to. Also, if you notice that colors column, we can specify in what color each crop will appear on a map. Every time you add a new variety to your account, AgNote will look to see if it can find more information about that variety, and if it does find more information about it, it will give you a link here. Here's a screenshot of crop input management area. Initially, when you create a new account, there will be some common inputs already added to your account. Here we can also customize how each input will be displayed. We can choose a color, we can select an acronym, we can choose in what units this input will be applied on a crop, and what is the default unit cost. Here we can also attach files to each input. For example, if you want to maintain some records about input analysis or input certification. If crop irrigations is something that your farm needs to manage, then most likely you will also need to track your irrigation water sources. In AgNote, there's a dedicated spot just for that. Here you can save detailed information for each water source. You can also attach water source flow test and water quality test. If the water source doesn't have a physical flow meter installed, then every time when a new irrigation is added to the planting, it will use the latest flow available for that water source. Also, if there is a water quality test available for the water source, every time when new irrigation is created, it will calculate applied nitrogen through that irrigation. AgNote provides a simple yet very useful field mapping. Maps will automatically update as you manage your crops. Once on a maps page, you will see all the planted fields for the farm. Here, AgNote also provides a map legend with useful statistics about each crop. If you have multiple farms in your account, you can easily switch between the farms to view the planted fields. Here you can also toggle which plantings you would like to view, the current, previous, or next. And just as easy, you can print the map from here, or you can share it by emailing to one or multiple recipients. In AgNote, there are no limits on how many users you can have in your account. You can easily invite a new user from within User Management's page. Here you can also assign what role the new user is going to have and which companies will the new user will have access to. You can also limit the new user from viewing the financial data in your account. We are truly passionate about building practical tools for busy farmers. Up until this point, most of our software elements have been designed by listening to actual farmers and farm managers. Our biggest joy is when we see that our tools provide practical help and make farm work easier and more productive. For us at AgNote, this will always be a journey of continuous improvement. By midsummer of 2021, we are planning to have farm task management added to the AgNote. We are also looking at how we can further implement more automation and telemetry in our application. We are also working on streamlining the data flow into the AgNote's application by providing useful tools to the user who is actually performing the work. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn more about AgNote. I wish you a safe and productive day at the farm. Thank you.